You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right, guys, listen, I want to thank you. This is Curtis here. I want to welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So we are excited, to have Zach Beach. And so Zach is a mentor at a company called Smart Real Estate Coach, a coach and a mentor. If you heard a previous podcast, we had his father-in-law, Nick, on. And I want you to hear from, are you a millennial? You're a millennial? You consider a millennial, Zach?
I think so. I think I'm at the top of it. I'm 28.
Okay, so he's 28. So here you go. For my young people, here's a guy that started. So Zach is part of Smart Real Estate Coach. He's located in Newport, Rhode Island, and he works alongside his wife, Kayla, brother-in-law Nick, and his father-in-law Chris. And they have a great family team, a great family business. So he's completed over 100. Listen to this now, 100 deals in under 3 years. Their whole family, but he continues to buy and sell property without using cash or credit or investors' money. Okay. And Zach is co-authoring not his first book, his second book in 2019, The New Rules of Real Estate Investing. All right. And so what I want to do is, Zach, welcome to the show and tell me a little about, so I gave you kind of a little intro, but tell me a little about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on. I very much appreciate it. I'm grateful for you having me on this podcast. So what you didn't tell was, before I was in real estate investing. I started in real estate investing when I was 25. Before then, I was actually a bartender and personal trainer, and I was just running on the hamster wheel. And the reason why I kind of hopped into those two professions was I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated from college. I just knew I didn't want to work in the corporate world. And that's to no offense to anyone out there that's in the corporate world. That just wasn't the best fit for me. So bartending seemed fun. So I started doing that down here in Newport, Rhode Island, which is a very tourist-driven area. So it was a heck of a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But by the time I was 25, I kind of was burning the candle on both ends, and I was getting really tired because I was serving drinks to those at night, and then I was training them at about 5 a.m. So I wasn't getting much sleep. And eventually, after 4 years, that kind of wears on you. So I went to my father-in-law, Chris, and said, because he recently started, he's been in real estate for over 25 years, but we happen to be recently focusing on the terms business, which is what you kind of described. And then also with our consulting business, we're pretty new. So I hopped in and I said, hey, Chris, I don't know if I'm going to like real estate. I just know it's going to be better than what I'm doing now. Would you be open for me kind of coming over and testing the waters? Now, I knew absolutely nothing about real estate. I was as green could be. So I would say it was risky, but it was definitely a huge learning curve.
Okay.
So it just took me some time, and then fast forward 3 years from now and I got to give all the credit to my team as well, but fast forward 3 years from now, done well over 100 deals and counting, and constantly in the trenches doing deals.
One of the things you said before we started recording was that you really work on, and I think this is key. A lot of people don't realize that. I always tell people everybody's in the marketing business. And one of the things that impressed me by your company is the marketing. So you use terms like, marketing, pipeline, funnel. Talk about that for a second. If you're a new investor, what does that mean to them?
Yeah. So, the top of the funnel always comes from lead sources, right? So you got multiple lead sources that are coming from, and we're not hiding our lead sources. We're fishing in the same ponds as other investors in a way, but we're looking for a completely different seller or a completely different buyer. So we're getting our leads from for sale by owners, for rent by owners, expired listings. Sometimes we even do mailings to vacants or other types of mailings if we want to get really specific. Mm-hmm. But that's what the top of the lead funnel always comes in. It's, do you have a constant flow of leads coming in? And then once you do, you then implement into the funnel it starts with a conversation. And once you understand your scripts and how to speak with sellers and how to vet them, you then would be putting them through the follow-up system. So as soon as you understand scripts, you then put them through. We have a 7 steps to a take-in, it's called, and it's really our system in order to eventually get it under contract. So it just goes into a very specific follow-up system.
And you kind of, once you have that process, your ideal client, and you just walk people through that.
Yeah, so it starts with knowing exactly what you're looking to accomplish and who you're looking for. So we have very pointed questions on our scripts. That way we can tell if they're somebody we want to work with or if they're a potential property for us to buy or not. And you'd rather just know right at the beginning. So let's not get stuck with maybes as that, waste a ton of your time. Let's just get somebody to know and know that's okay. And then get them to yes, meaning let's get some more information and let's put them through the education process.
Right. Don't get a no. I like quick no's,
Yeah, I'm okay with a yes and I'm okay with a no. They're both completely okay with me. It's the maybes where you're sitting in the middle where you don't know if, you're always questioning yourself whether or not you could have asked something different or, they kind of sit in the follow-up system and you're wasting a heck of a lot of time. Instead, just work with the people that are, say, cream of the crop.
What were some of the challenges as a going cold from not knowing anything? What are some of did you learn outside of that? Did Nick, give you like recommended reading, or was it like all on the job training or a combination of both?
Chris and Nick definitely. So Chris is my father-in-law, Nick's my brother-in-law.
Okay.
So yeah, they both. Chris was actually a broker owner for 18 years, and then also invested in other things such as building properties. Nick was a realtor for 8 years, so they both had substantial real estate experience. So I just, at the beginning, I let them just guide me. It was a lot of exact same thing that we do with our associates or students around the country. It's pretty much the same type of process. Is actually way more honed in now, but it's just simple learning things. It really comes down to, number one, understanding real estate in itself, and then understanding the salesmanship and scripts and the selling and the funnels and the follow up, which are they're part of every business. We just happen to be really focused on working with entrepreneurs and going through the medium of real estate because you can build some massive wealth there.
When you say you help people buy and sell property on terms, can you tell our listeners what that means?
So we buy and sell property. It's basically 4 different techniques that we focus on. But just to keep it real simple, it just means that we're buying and selling property without using our own cash, credit, or asking investors for money. So we're really buying property on a contract by negotiating the terms of the contract.
Okay. And that's no cash or credit, because a lot of people that I'll talk to, in my practice there, they want to start, but they're like wholesaling, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's very dense. It's a lot of people doing that. And so you might have to learn a few things here, but we talked about earlier, it's like a blue ocean where there's not a lot of people fishing in your ocean. You're not like y'all are looking for pretty houses, so to speak, right? Not, stuff you got to do a lot of work on. Is that kind of what you would say y'all or market is? Yep.
It's definitely nicer move-in ready homes. Typically working with a seller who has the ability to wait for their equity, is willing to, or is looking to get the most profit out of it or a higher price. Because we're able to pay them a higher price on the house, and we can go through a deal if you'd want, just so everyone can hear it. But pay a higher price on the property as long as we get long enough terms. Because what we're able to do is really, as long as the longer the term, the higher the price we can pay because of a couple nuances in the deals that actually allow us to create more wealth if we have a longer term.
I want to talk to some of my younger people out there. How can they use real estate to create wealth early in their life? Rich Bach, I want you out the rat race before 40, right? Between 35 and 40. And then how would you recommend, that's just 2 questions, then I want to go into a deal. How would you recommend they get started?
Yeah, you can build wealth. You can build wealth by using our techniques here, right? I'm 28. I wish I knew it when I was 20 that I wanted to get into real estate, as I would be, say 5 years ahead of where I am now. So the way our deals actually work too is we get 3 paydays. And I think this will kind of help explain it. We get 3 paydays. So we get paydays when we collect a non-refundable deposit from our buyer. So once we tied up the contract, we get a payday number 1 from the non-refundable deposit we collect from our buyer. We then also get a spread each and every month. So the difference between what the expenses are on the house and what we're collecting for rent. That's our payday number 2. And then our payday number 3 is the principal pay down on the house, because we're really locking in the equity with the seller at the beginning of a term. So the principal pay down and any additional premium that's left over from the non-refundable deposit. So as you can imagine, these terms usually are somewhere between, say, 36 and 10 years, 36 months and 10 years. So 3 to 10 years. So you can imagine as these principals pay down and you're bringing in multiple deals, you're alluding to that you're creating some massive wealth on the back end, just in the principal pay down loan. So if you're doing 5, 10, 15, 20 deals a year,
Right.
you have those all now constantly adding up on each other. So eventually you can hop off the treadmill, but also you have these paydays that are going to be coming to you in the future. So you're building wealth.
Right, because you'll have 3 to 10 years of, and then every year somebody's coming due, and where you're getting your back end payday.
Yeah, eventually you'll get to a certain point where every single month you'll be having a new cash out. So you'll have somebody getting financed. So now you're selling these properties off, and then you're taking on new ones, which is pretty cool. So just kind of give you some numbers here. Our average payday one in-house, everyone's going to be different, but average payday one in-house and with our associates that we work with in the trenches is roughly about $22,000 as the average payday number one. Payday number two, so the spread is just about between $300 and $400 a month. It tends, some of them are $1,000. Some of them are 100, but they average to be about $400 a month.
Okay.
And then back ends tend to be roughly about 35,000 on the back end.
Let's go a little bit deeper there. So when you say, I just want to make sure people are understanding. So you negotiate, get the property under contract. What does that mean?
Yeah. So I speak with a seller. They agree, hey, and we're just going to use one technique right now. We're just going to use lease purchase. So we're just buying a property on a lease purchase, or also known as like a lease option.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what's that mean? So what I'm doing is I'm agreeing upon a price with a seller. Let's just say agreeing upon $300,000 with a seller, which means that we're locking in their equity today. So let's use they have a mortgage balance today of $200,000.
Okay.
So they have $100,000 in equity. Yep. That's what we're locking in right now. Let's say that their expenses on the property are $1,000 a month. So we're locking in the equity today. We're taking over any and all expenses on the house of $1,000 a month. And then let's just say we're agreeing upon a 48-month term. So on or before 48 months, we're going to cash them out. We're going to pay off the remaining balance of their loan plus the equity. Okay?
In 48 months.
On or before 48 months.
Okay.
So if our buyer that we place in the property, which we'll go into the backside now. So let's say we tie up that deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, after this too, we can throw our YouTube channel in the show notes as we do a deal structure Sunday.
Okay.
Every Sunday we walk through a new deal that we do.
Okay.
So then let's say, so we have that under contract. We then are going to sell it to what we call our tenant buyers, which are people that are looking to become homeowners. They just need time in order to get financing.
Right.
Tends to be someone who's had a legitimate hiccup in their credit, or somebody who's self-employed, needs seasoning.
Which is 80% of the market. I remember Chris saying before, it's like a lot of people, and they're business owners that make good money, but they're aggressive when they're, on their Schedule Cs or whatever, and they could make, $150,000 a year, but they're only showing 40. AGI, gross adjusted income. So the cash is there, but you've got to give them time to get that, or 2 years, or whatever the bank needs. You got to get them ready to be bankable so they can go ahead and take it over. That's why you stretch the term out, correct?
Yep. And of course, so we're always going to sell it to them less time frame than we have with our sellers, because that's our end date.
Yep.
So let's say we then sell it to the rent to own market for $330,000. So we're always able to, this isn't a real deal, I'm just spitting out numbers here. So $330,000, we're always able to sell it at a premium to the tenant buyers because they need time.
Right.
So we sold it to someone for $330,000 and they needed 24 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more in-depth of a process, as we have a very strict vetting process to make sure these buyers actually get to the finish line. So then we sell it to them for $330,000 at, say, $1,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we're able to get, say, $1,500 a month on this house. Already, say somebody usually comes on average of roughly 5% down. So that's 16. You then so you got 16,000 as your payday number one. Payday number two is $500 a month, because that's your spread between your expenses and what you're able to collect. So that's $500 a month times 24 months. It's $12,000. And then let's say, for payday number 3, which is going to be the back end when you cash out, you still have 14,000 in premium left because 330 minus the 16 that you got for a deposit. So you still have 14,000 in premium. And let's say the principal pay down on the $200,000 loan was, to say, it's $400 a month. 400 times 24. It's $9,600 or $9,600 that comes off the principal. So let's just, of course, this is just with a 24-month term. So you can almost double it if you need to go full 48 months.
So if they're not ready in 24 months, you giving yourself time, you may give them 24, 36, which still gives you time to, get them straight or do something else. And the longer they keep it, your 330 is their price, but your principal pay down. So that's just more money in your pocket when you sell it.
Yeah, so obviously the longer term for you, the better. Even though if a buyer can get financing in 24 months, that's great. So with 24 months, you're just on a $300,000 house. You'd say you're getting about almost $38,000 in profit because that's $16,000 plus the $12,000 in spread and the $14,000 in additional premium plus your $9,600 in principal pay down. Okay, so then obviously if it then goes a full 48 months, now you've gone up to $75,000 profit on this house.
Wow.
So as you can see, I mean, you get money now monthly and then in the back end. And the longer you hold on to these properties, you can see the wealth. And that's why I wanted to walk through. So if Millennial got a deal today and he got a 48-month term, he has anywhere from like $25,000 to $45,000 in wealth that is coming within the future. This is an investment that you would have put little to no money down on. So it's almost an infinite investment. As I know you're very protective of people's money. So infinite investment here. So you can just imagine how many deals of this would take in order to get you out of your corporate job or comfortable enough where you get some nice nest egg coming in. And that's not even talking about some of the older folks here that can do it in their IRA, the self-directed IRA, without paying on the taxes. You can just imagine how many deals that would take in order to get you.
What's cool about this? Yesterday I was speaking with someone, and I take people through an exercise called Retirement Ready or Not, right? And she was like 43. I showed her, focusing on accumulation, what she would, she had like 20,000 saved up, and I was showing her like she would need to average 17% return based upon what she's doing every year without any losses or going backwards to do what she's going to do. So that's unrealistic. And then I said, well, or you got to lower your lifestyle from, like 60 or 70 grand a year down to 1,800 at retirement, or you need to save $32,000 a month, which is like 51% of her income. Yeah. And I was like, that ain't going to happen. But see, because you're focusing on accumulation. So what I love about what Zach is saying, see, you're focusing on cash flow without having to use your money. So if you can do, what would you say a new person a year would be a realistic goal? Like 8 or 10 a year, 4 or 5 a year? What?
No, I think it depends on, of course, it's a couple factors, right? I don't know what your background is. I don't know how much time you have to dedicate to this, but on average, I'd say one a month is very realistic with putting in probably 5 to 7 hours a week. But it may take you 6 months to get your first deal. But then after that, of course, there's accumulation, right? Everything starts to compound effect there. So, yeah, we teach people.
He's driving for Uber. Okay.
I know, but sometimes, right, you got to get out of that mindset, though. People that are driving for Uber, they want cash now, even though it's a hell of a lot less. Instead of putting in the effort today and working on your mindset and working on high payoff skills that you have for the rest of your life, but it's going to take you 6 months in order to get your first deal. That's difference.
And they're not mutually exclusive, but you have to see one of the things that we talk about. I'm so happy you said that, because your first investment is in between your two ears. So you have to invest in your mindset. And so, and they have a course, we're going to talk about at the end. You've got to invest in your skill set. See, you could do this. Because your listeners go, well, who would do that? Why would they do that? That's because you don't know who you're looking for. It's people that will do that, but you don't have any skills yet, right? And so your income is in direct proportion to the value that you bring to the marketplace, because see, what you're doing is helping them solve their problems. So you have to go into it with a service mindset, and then your network, build, a network of people that know how to do this stuff. and a network of other people that can feed the top of your pipeline, right? And then what Zach is showing you all is a business. Your number one investment is in the business, not in some fund manager 1,000 miles away you ain't never met. And then step 3 is come back to me so I can show you how to be the bank, just so we're clear how I fit into this equation. So,
love it.
So, let me ask you, this is what I was thinking about. See, most of this, guys, is for me as much as you. So I'm trying to think of the questions y'all are thinking about. So when you do the down payment, I want to go back to the front. One of the things is the $16,000 is all yours?
Yeah, it's a non-refundable deposit. So it counts directly towards the purchase price. So when it is shown, typically we collect it through our attorney because we have our buyers sign in front of our attorney, even though it's more or less a formal lease signing, but we want to let them know how, the levity of the situation. And it's also way more professional. So that way the $16,000, the underwriter can certainly track and they know that that's their deposit. And then typically it's not like it's all going to come at one time. Let's say somebody comes in with 5%. Over the course of their lease, we're always constantly bringing up their down payment. So throughout a what we call like a buyer's meeting, we're going to help them set up their letter of intent. And we'll typically increase their down payment with scheduled payments to get them up as high as 10%. Because it's really important to get somebody close to that number. Number one, because it's less likely they're going to default. But then number two, it's also going to allow the buyer to get into the best programs when they go get a mortgage, not just any program. And it'd be super nice if they don't have to come to the table when they go close on the house with more money because they would already have put down their deposit.
So here's what I'm hearing. So this is really cool because you're, as the person, as the deal architect, you'll call them, are coaching your tenant buyers to help them qualify and get in the house. So it's just not like a set it and forget it. You're in touch with them. You're coaching them, helping them get themselves together so they're able to, get their credit or get their savings. And it sounds like that's what you're doing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. We not only walk them through the entire deal, but both buyers and sellers, but also we incorporate all of our additional resources, such as like people that are specialists in credit repair, credit enhancement, mortgage lenders, people that, are actually going to get them to the finish line. We give them the resources, allow them to choose their own, but throughout the period of time where they're in our rent to own, they do have to be in credit repair or credit or working on their credit enhancement because that's why they need us is that bridge. So we want to make sure that they're actually going to become successful. Because I know people are sitting there like, oh, rent to own. I've heard so many stories about that doesn't work. It's not successful. Well, other people that are doing onesie twosies are not successful because they don't have the systems and processes in place in order to make them successful. There's a reason why we do hundreds of deals and have a very high success rate compared to the other market. So yeah, we teach. So we do that. And then we teach people who want to be involved in building a company like this. We teach them how to not only do deals like we're doing, but also to build and scale their business. So that way they have a business like we do.
So let's talk about that. Let's say I want to be a full-time business owner in the real estate, because really you're building a business in the real estate market. You're an investor, but really you're building a business. Would you say and there's a difference between the two?
Yeah, I would say so because, when you're an investor, I guess it's just kind of how you look at it, but we are investors, but we just have built processes around it. I think that's the difference between a business and somebody just kind of winging and doing deals.
Right. You got to you've McDonaldized the real estate business for you all as a process is.
Yeah, you could, any of us, if you had, a strong enough will, could probably grind a real estate investment business to about $1 million. Okay. But if you want to actually scale it and then eventually get out of the trenches, you have to make sure you have the correct systems and processes in place because this business can, I say easily, but we've seen and helped people build it to $1 million plus, and eventually you want to get out of the trenches. So it's definitely something that's a vehicle that can get that done.
That's what Smart Real Estate Coach and your mentoring coaching system is all about, how to do that.
Yeah, that's correct. And we've kind of done a spin on it just because we're huge avid learners, as you were talking behind the ears. We seek coaching and mentoring for ourselves and multiple, me, Chris, and Nick, in multiple phases as we're growing as constantly as everyone else is. So we've noticed there's obviously a huge gap between people selling products, especially in the real estate venue, and then people actually doing deals. So we actually have associate programs where we partner with you. We're in the trenches with you. We're helping call on your sellers, buyers, helping you structure the deals, which is primarily where a huge benefit comes in. Is you don't want to leave money on the table and or structure a deal that you're going to hate within the next 48 months. So you want to make sure that you're in a good position. So we help people in the trenches. So full immersion is what we've crafted up.
That is awesome. So guys, if you're saying, well, I don't like what I'm doing. I want a side business, a real business that you're going to have to learn some stuff. But that is what separates you from the amateurs with people that are really, I know y'all have a couple of students, people, I get people listen to the show from all over the place, but some of my local people, there's a few people that are kicking butt in Pennsylvania that I see, because as I record this, I'm just outside of Philadelphia, and I know there are a few people that are doing this system in here. So it will work where you are. And because you'll say my market's different. No, it's not. Okay.
That's the number one thing I get. And I talk to people every day. Well, my market's hot, or my market's really cold, or my market's different. The difference between people that, are complaining about their market and the people who are actually doing deals is the ones taking action. But the thing here is we actually have a system and process in place. We have proven around the country that it works. Mm-hmm. The only difference between a hot market or a cold market is the numbers. Right. It's going to be, how many leads does it take for you to get an appointment? How many appointments does it take for you to get a contract taken? How many, so right. As soon as we have those numbers, you can now make a predictable, scalable business, because if right. It took me 25 leads and 4 appointments to get a property under contract, then in order to get 2, unless your numbers change, unless you make an improvement, it's going to take you 50 leads and 8 appointments to get 2 properties under contract.
Yeah,
that's what you need to know.
We're all in the arithmetic business, right? And so once you know the numbers, and because we're all in the numbers business, you got to know what numbers you need to hit, or you just out there playing blind archery. Not knowing, you're stumbling into people. Like, they have a system. Like, I know you have like VAs that, if you get into the right program, they help you sort out this stuff. So you're only talking to people that are interested in talking to you. So this is not a situation where you got to talk people into stuff. You're talking to people that want to talk to you once you build it right. Correct?
Yeah, it's accurate. Along, so you got your VA that's going to help you acquire some leads. And then as soon as you know your scripts and you ask pointed questions, because you're looking to buy the property, and what you're doing is you're putting the seller on stage and asking them pointed questions to figure out if it's the right property for you to buy. It's not, not in the convincing or selling business. You're figuring out if this property is right for me to buy. You do so by asking correct questions.
Zach, how can and we're gonna put this in the show notes. Anything else you want to tell them, and then how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, just because we had such a great conversation, we will give your audience, for absolutely free, no shipping, no handling, our Amazon best-selling book, Real Estate on Your Terms. Mm-hmm. You will see my father-in-law's name on it, Chris Prefontaine. We'll give you that book for free. And I'll send you to the link right now. It's freesrecbook.com. That's www.freesrecbook.com. One more time, it's free, smartrealestatecoachbook.com. All you have to do is give us your address. We will ship it out to you for free, signed copy, and enjoy it. So definitely tell your family and how to get these things done.
Tell them Curtis sent you, so they know, hey, people listen to my show. And so do you still do the because I have a note for that somewhere, the webinar?
We still have a webinar. Because you get the free book, you'll then be prompted through the email, and they'll send you the webinar. Okay. Yep.
So we'll put the links in the show notes. And folks, I've read the book twice. Actually, my sister and I are going to go through the course. So I want to be a deal architect, and that, because I like businesses, right? And so to me, it's perfect, because it's all about cash flow and scaling, right? And even if to me, as I'm hearing it, you go through this, you learn how to build this business. Those skill sets translate to other businesses, in terms of now you start thinking about whatever you're doing a certain way. But you want passive income, you want to not have to work forever, and you want to do it so that you don't have to go out and make the donuts every morning. Yeah. Right? To quote that old commercial, the old Dunkin' Donuts commercial, time to make the donuts. You're up at 4:00 in the morning. Nobody's trying to do that. And I want to go. I found out I'm a really good beach bum. I can go to the beach and I can stay at the beach, play beach volleyball, have people bring me frozen margaritas. And I can do that for weeks at a time.
That's good to me.
Right? You know what I mean? But you have to have the money to stay there. You know, you have the cash flow. So you can't eat equity. You live on cash flow, you know. And so, you know, one of the things that we teach, you know, with practical wealth and prosperity economics, folks, you've got to buy assets that throw off cash flow. If it doesn't produce cash flow, it's not a very good asset. And that's what you're building a business that does assets. You're learning how to do stuff that most people don't know how to do. And that's rare air. And that's how you can get this thing done. And so they have, to me, the perfect system to teach you how to do that. I'm fired up, Zach.
Yeah.
This is exciting. Every time I talk about it, this is like absolutely fascinating me. So we could do this all day. I know you've got other people to see. So I thank you for taking time out to speak to the Practical Wealth audience. Definitely drive people your way, because I think this stuff is brilliant, and we're going to work on getting y'all down here to Philly so we can do this live.
Yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely love to. I think I very much appreciate you, Chris, for having me on. And I thank your audience for taking an hour out of their day or 45 minutes out of their day. I know everybody is super, super busy. So thank you, guys.
Folks, hey, this is another great episode of the Practical Wealth Show. Listen, like, and share. Leave us a review. And we go out there and make it a profitable day. And we're out.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.